Waiting, 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 waiting. There we go. Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me again today. Oh, we have a loud volume over here. Let's try to get that fixed. There we go. Hello, my name is Dan. This is Daily Art Adventure number 927. Rough sketches in pencil and gouache. On your mark, get set, go. I resisted the temptation to call this the hard work of rough sketches because I've already used that title at least twice, I think, which just goes to show you how hard this work is. Every time I say something like how hard it is being an artist, I think of all the people, 99% of all the human males through history and females, oh my goodness, who've worked, digging ditches, building, cutting down trees, making square logs out of round ones and using the square logs to build furniture ad nauseum. Anyway, and again, compared to so many people in the world, this is a piece of cake. But in the world of art, doing the painting is execution. That's kind of fun. Doing the rough sketches really is the hard work. Not hard compared to cutting down trees, mind you, by hand, without power tools. All right, let me move you. Stop this silliness, maybe. Well, I can't. I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to stop all silliness, just some of it. All right, so this is for my good friend William up in Virginia. He sent me an email a couple weeks ago, said, hey, we've got another project for you. So here's some of the verbiage emails, some of the emails. Then last week, based on what he said, I did 3 pencil sketches, 1, 2, and 3. They started out as thumbnails, then I liked them so much that I just tightened them up and then scanned them, and then in Photoshop I colorized them and then made a bunch of notes. So A, B, C, A, B, C. And then my friend William, aka Buddy, got back to me here with a bunch of feedback that I've marked here in orange. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then starting over again. Note, 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 note. So, and part of the reason I'm not going to read this to you, of course, but I'm just showing this to indicate how I do rough sketches. It's very much a left-right brain activity. And this is the linguistic, analytical, definitive, left brain kind of stuff. It's not any fun at all. But it has to be done. Here's another photograph that William sent me with some notes in it that I want to be aware of. So again, be that as, I'm not going to read all that information to you. I just want you to know or be vaguely aware of the work that's already been done. So now, as you can see, these of the 3, this is the one he was drawn to the most, with some notes about this one and so on and so forth. So I'm going to start here then. Let me put this up where I can see it. And I'm going to do first in pencil, as the title indicated, I'm going to do maybe a couple very rough sketches. And then I hope to graduate fairly quickly to a larger gouache sketch that I've already got a piece of paper masked out at the right ratio, right size for this. All right, so, ooh, a bridge. See, there you go. I don't know if that was left brain or right brain, but all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, a bridge. The subject matter of this painting is landscape, quasi fantasy. No dragons, I don't think, but maybe a castle or two, but specifically Roman-ish ruins. And I'll show you again the third sketch that I did here that he liked the most. I have a great big old gnarly, oak tree or willow tree or something over here, very fantasy-ish. Water. Now, two water elements, a lake in the distance, which he specified in his that he was inclined. These were not demands on his part. These were suggestions, but duly taken. And of course, I like it. We all, human beings, like to see water in their paintings. A lake there and a stream or waterfall there. Now, in my new sketch, I'm proposing a bridge right here, which I didn't have here. The other elements are a path, which again, very standard, typical elements in any landscape, but especially a fantasy, idealistic landscape. A fantasy landscape. Then over here is bushes, rhododendrons, and some tall pine trees. And these in particular relate to another painting that I already did for William, aka Buddy, that has these tall trees. That's actually the scene outside his house. But these two paintings are likely to be hanging next to each other. And his idea, crazy idea, was that the two paintings sort of relate to each other. And I'm saying that's crazy, but no, I actually think that's a very clever idea. It'll be subtle, I'm not going to try to make it look like one painting, nothing like that. But just that bushes and tall pine trees, those two elements right there, will connect this to the next painting over. So those are some of the elements that I'm working with. And I thought, rather than, there's too many variables, rather than go straight to the gouache painting, which I'm really anxious to do, I thought, and I already came up with a major element, that is the bridge. The other thing that he liked from my second sketch over there, sketch B, it was a ravine, but I didn't. Anyway, we'll see. So I'm going to try to incorporate that if I can. Big tree. The big tree at an angle, by the way. That's very, very important. The big tree straight up and down would be a very different message. I have somewhere I should pull it out sometime and put it on my YouTube community page. I believe I have pulled out my favorite tree paintings through history. And in fact, I can remember some of them. Well, of course I can remember some. The one I wasn't sure I could remember, I just pulled it up, is Ivan Shishkin. S-H-I-S-H-K-I-N. Shishkin. He's Russian. I'm not sure if he's 19th century or early 18th. I'm not sure. He has been named, maybe, I think is an appropriate way to put it, by somebody, I don't know who, but he's been named as the greatest forest, woodland, tree painter in history. So it doesn't matter whether that's literally true or not. The only point is, when you hear something like that, you can probably be fairly confident the guy's pretty good at painting trees. If some sober person thinks he's the best ever, then the chances are he's at least pretty good, and I would agree. In fact, if you were to Google Ivan Shishkin, you will see his most famous painting, and you may go, oh, I've seen that before. That's the way I was when I when I looked him up, I said, oh, I've seen that painting before. It's a painting of a couple bear cubs climbing up a dead tree log at an angle. Just that right there, just that alone right there might be enough to remind you of that painting. But that's not really what I was going to talk about. What I really was going to mention was, because of this big tree here, one of my other favorite tree painters of all time is Maxfield Parrish. And if you don't know who Maxfield Parrish is, no shame, no shame. You don't know, don't say that. But just you've missed a treat. Go ahead and look him up. Maxfield Parrish, P-A, 2 R's, but that's right. Google will straighten you out if you spell it with 1 R. Maxfield Parrish. He was American. I have described him as sort of the Norman Rockwell, because he did like Life. I'm sorry, then Norman Rockwell, and a couple ticks, perhaps more continental. By that I mean European, Italian, classic, than Norman Rockwell. Now I'm just rambling, and I'm on a. Having said that, however, here in Raleigh, North Carolina, the North Carolina Art Museum had a Norman Rockwell show at least 10 years ago, I would think, maybe more. And I was actually astonished. I was honestly, I mean, pretty much, all, unless you're a really, really snooty art major, all Americans like Norman Rockwell paintings. But of course, then I went through my period of being snooty, so I didn't like him. But now I've recovered from that, so now I do like him. And I was astonished, I suppose is a fair statement. Quite surprised. Okay, astonished at the classical painterliness of his technique, which you really can't see in the the magazine covers and the typical reproductions that you see whenever you see a Norman Rockwell painting. You just can't see the technique, but when viewed up close, it's like, my goodness, this guy, Norman Rockwell, that is, was a real painter. And I'm saying that like a snobby fine art snobby painter at the moment. You understand? It's okay if you're a snob as long as you admit it. Never be a snob, unless of course you can admit you're being a snob while you're being a snob. Then it's acceptable. That rule applies to me when I'm being a snob. Anyway, I'm completely on a tangent. Let's go back to Maxfield Parrish. He was my muse. He was my superstar hero for years and years and years and years. I would say I had just become, in fact, this is 1987, I think, I had just become finally a full-time illustrator. Oh, a little bit of graphic design still, but mostly illustration. And I walked into a bookstore, and I saw on the shelf a book by Maxfield Parrish. I still have it somewhere. I wonder if it's right here behind me. Yep, here it is. I saw this book by Maxfield Parrish. Oh, good. This is getting more interesting or less interesting by the minute. I don't know which. Anyway, do you reckon that this cover is too blue, faded by the sun? But most of you will recognize. As soon as I picked up this very book and said, "Eureka!" That's it. That's the illustrator I want to be. I'm just going to try to flip through here and find some of his more famous. Girls on Rocks is a lot of what he called some of his paintings. I think way back here in the back, I think there's one example. Okay, so, but there's one of his trees. Okay, so that's why he is, I mean, if you want to study the best tree paintings ever done, Maxfield Parrish needs to be high on your list. I'm going to get to some others here in just a minute, but spectacular fantasy-ish landscapes, if not totally fantasy, but you know, things like this, fairly realistic. Anyway, and his technique, I'm looking for a page that describes his technique, and I'm not finding it. Let me look at the front. Forgive me. I hope you're recognizing some of this. Technique 189. Since I'm taking this detour, I might as well. By the way, he's also a hero of mine because I believe he did his last painting when he was 95 years old. Not bad, eh? And died when he was 95 years old. Okay, here's the only painting in here that shows somewhat his technique. He did everything in oils. He would do very careful drawings. Again, amazing trees. And then he would paint everything in blue. So this part of the photograph over here is what it looked like, a Wedgwood dinner plate in shaded degrees of blue. He would wait for that to dry, varnish the whole painting. Then he would do a layer of yellow on top of that. So then it's a yellow and blue painting. Let that dry, varnish, then do red, and he was done. So he did, in essence, a three-color process, three-color printing in reverse. And you know, the way a color separator would typically separate the colors. He painted separate, so blue, then yellow, and that's what I did in my illustrations, not in oil, but in pen and ink, airbrush, watercolor for decades. And anyway, so Maxfield Parrish. If you want to do trees, let me give you another tree master is Andrew Wyeth. And the third tree master is, let me see if I've got his book here. It's around here somewhere. Is Carlson. Oh, I think that book is downstairs. David F. Carlson, I think it's David or John, anyway. David F. or John F. David F. Carlson, I think it is. And yeah, I believe that book's downstairs. Anyway, those are the four. If you want to list, put a gun to my head and say, quick, name the four greatest tree painters in history. There you go. That's it. Maxfield Parrish, David F. Carlson. I'm not sure about the David part. I'm pretty sure about the F part. Isn't that funny? I remember his middle initial, but not his first name. And Andrew Wyeth and Ivan Shishkin, who's been named the greatest of all tree painters. And again, whether that's true, who knows? Who cares? But he's very, very good. All right, so that was an interesting detour, wasn't it? You just never know. I never know. The thing I like best about my broadcasts is I don't have an outline. You want to see me die on the vine? Give me an outline. It's sort of like, you want to hear me, do you want to hear me stop playing music? Put music in front of me. Not that I can't read it, don't get me wrong. I can read music. In fact, I've spent many years writing music, like writing the first, second, third clarinet, first, second, third trombone, first, second trumpet, that kind of writing music. I don't mean like making up songs with a guitar in my lap. No. I mean actually writing music. I come from a long line of music writers, so that's not really that weird, considering the home I grew up in. Anyway, so I'm sorry. There's another crazy tangent. Why is he talking about music all of a sudden? Okay, the point was, if you want to hear me stop talking, put an outline in front of me. Oh boy. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. You know, a sign of real sociopathic behavior when somebody laughs and they're the only person laughing. You ever know anybody like that? You ever watch a video? You ever watch a broadcast of somebody like that? Shut up. Don't answer that question. Oh boy. Hey, somebody's saying hi over here. Hello, El Sexto Hokage. Look at all those hands. Thank you very much. Hello, Peter Fields. Thank you for saying hi. Hello, Michael. Thank you for enjoying Maxfield's paintings with me, Peter. I appreciate it. Oh yeah, okay, the Racer tool. Here it is. I have bought several of them. They used to be expensive. Now they're really cheap. Hallelujah. Barbara has the same book. That's great. Hello, Redina. Yes, me and my family are very well. Redina, thank you. Yes, my online critique has it's still in the works. It's still planning. Oh, Jeff, do I remember my questions in my last video? I almost do. Tell me again. Tim, I promise, I almost do. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to remember these. There you go. So much for good intentions. Now, I'm not sure that bridge should be that big. Part of the reason for the bridge is I'm trying to get a ravine, a real ravine going in here. Yeah, Jeff, tell me again. GF, tell me again, please. I'm sorry. I would love to hear your questions again. If I already answered them, I'll leave them alone. All right, so the idea back here is some kind of Roman ruins. And yes, not today, but a couple days ago when I was doing my first batch of rough sketches, I actually Googled Roman ruins, just to get an idea, look at several things. And here's a body of water, a lake back here. Oh, I keep drawing the line in the wrong place. All right, now, class, a little review time. Oh, thank you, Jeff. Yes, will we get a pen and ink video? Thank you. I hope so. I'll tell you why that doesn't just automatically happen. Is because I'm a working artist and I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to pay the bills. So occasionally I do indeed do a piece of art just for fun, just for the heck of it, just because I want to. But honestly, it doesn't happen terribly often, because if I've got two pieces of artwork to do, one I'm going to get paid for and one I'm just doing it for the heck of it, usually the one I'm getting paid for wins out, right? But still, I appreciate your request, and enough that I will interrupt that. So thank you for poking me again with that reminder. And am I pronouncing your name right? GF? Michael, have I ever published a book? Yes and no. Oh boy. Nothing simple, is it? And really, no. Have I ever published a book? No. Am I a published author? Yes. That's because many years ago, I worked for a Christian ministry organization, and the president, boss man of this ministry, wrote several books. You know, in the course of his ministry. And one of the books that he wrote, I wrote. It's called ghostwriting. It's essentially a devotional commentary on the Gospel of Luke. So there you go. And I'm being a little bit almost, I mean, it's true, I'm telling you the truth, but I'm being a little facetious by even calling that, you know, a book. I am in print. And you may want, well, what credentials did you have to write a devotional commentary on the Gospel of Luke? None technically, but in actuality, and this was over 30 years ago. I was in my 30s when it happened, and I've always been, since my early 20s, I've been pretty much, I'll use the word, an inveterate journaler. I keep journals. I write all kinds. I've written many things that are not published, and because that's exactly what happened when someone else had the job of writing this book, and it wasn't going very well. So for some reason, somebody said, "Hey Dan, would you like to take a whack at this?" And I said, "Sure." I chirped with a chirpy voice, "Sure." And so I wrote it, and they were pretty impressed and surprised, and they asked me, "Wow, how'd you learn how to write so good?" And I just remember my answer being, because I write every day. Now that's not true today. I don't write every day, but at least 2 or 3 times a week I actually do write. So anyway, you get good at what you practice, and I'm not claiming I'm good, but I was good enough to do that. Anyway, I have 2 books in the works right now. Don't hold your breath. One of them is about painting, and it's called The Breakable Laws of Painting. I worked on it very hard a couple years ago, and have almost not worked on it at all in the last 2 years. So I'm anxious I really do want to do that, get that one published. I'm not sure whether it's going to be a video or a book, however. And then I have another book that's much more philosophical and historical. It does not have a title, but it's about modern art, quote unquote, per se. And I'm using that term like a layperson, not like an academic. So I'm smooshing all together, contemporary and all the various modern, because I'm passionate about that one as well. I've been working on that for 10 years. It's about 400 pages long at the moment, but it's completely unedited. Likewise, I'm going to do one more real quick sketch here where I'm not to that degree of detail, but where I'm thinking, let me make that bridge smaller. And the Roman ruins, I'm not entirely happy with in here. All right, I'm going to go right to a bigger sketch. So if those are thumbnails, this, technically speaking, then this one here might be called a sketch, not a thumbnail, but a sketch, large sketch, as you can see. The first thing I'm going to do is indicate the top of the lake. First of all, I want to get it low, not in the middle, and I want to get it horizontal. Okay, so now let's just see what happens. And my bridge does not need to be in perfect repair, as you can imagine. The idea here is old Romanesque, European is the word, actually the word that my friend William used when he was describing the painting he was envisioning, European ruins. I think arches are the most distinct element. Arches and pillars, columns, if you will, are the most distinct aspect, don't you think, element of Romanish ruins. All right, class, so answer this question. What's the most important aspect of a painting? The most important aspect of any painting is what? Play of light. Exactly. So at the moment, as you can see, this is all just liney, and that certainly will not do. So at least in my mind, I have to be thinking play of light. Oh, Franklin Booth. Hey, tell you what, thank you, GF. I'm going to turn on my backup phone because I'm not using it at the moment, and I will look him up. Thank you. Well, I think I'm going to turn this phone on. This is an old phone. There we go. And it doesn't work. The on-off switch doesn't work. Hello, Barbara. Thanks for the encouragement, Michael. GF, thank you for kindly following, even though, yeah, you liked the pen and ink and then you came over here. I understand. I understand. That accounts for why I have such a high number of subscribers, but not a huge number of viewers, because a lot of people find me because of that one video, and then when they get here they're disappointed to discover that pen and ink is just one of a sideline, one of many things that I do, and certainly not the, hang on a second, this tree, all my gnarly, big old gnarly trees are twisted, by the way. That's, but I'm trying to decide. Yeah, I think it's twisted this way. I'm trying to decide which way it's twisted. That is definitely a Dan Nelsonism. Twisted trees. I feel like it's good at least to know what your what's the word? What your default proclivities. What's the word I'm looking for? Are, and mine is big old trees that are twisted. Well, I twist my small trees too, so it's not just big old ones. I do like big old trees, as maybe you can tell. And this is, I'm going to do gouache on this, so I'm starting out with, let's put a, is it a Corinthian capital? I used to know that, right? I'd have to look that up. All right, let's look up Franklin Booth. We'll try this, see if it works. Franklin Booth. Hello. Okay. Not all the, there we go, not all the features are turned on this old phone. All right, images. I recognize his work already just by the cover piece there. Ooh. lovely. Wow, thank you, Jeff. Look at that. There's a fantasy-ish, isn't it? Complete with naked woman. That gets us over into a different kind of fantasy. Sorry. Just couldn't resist. Sorry. That was not a very sophisticated comment. It was downright plebeian. Or is it plebeian? Oh, look at that. I love it. Oh my goodness. Storybook. He looks like a contemporary of N.C. Wyeth. Right, early 20th century is my guess. What fun. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Very nice. Play of light. Wow. Thank you. What fun. I've seen his stuff before, would never have been able to tell you. This was, oh, he died in 1948. Okay, so, yeah, first half of the 20th century. Yep, exactly. Thank you. What fun. We have a veritable art appreciation course here on on my broadcast. What fun. Okay, so play of light, again, is the most important aspect of any painting, whether it's fantasy or not. Redina, the most important aspect of painting, the person holding the brush. That's good, that's cute. So I'm trying to, as I'm doing this, I'm trying to give thought to where my dark zones, where my light zones, and so on. And this corner down here is a ravine. I'm borrowing a ravine from, or exaggerating. There was already one here, but I'm exacerbating it, making the ravine even more ravine-y. Ravine-y, that's a word. But a patch, light coming in at an angle, of course, dramatic lighting. Here in this, like a meadow, pale brown, tan, yellow, and spring green. And then the ruins, the Romanish ruins there, in dappled sunlight. That's certainly one of the most important elements of the painting. All right, I'm about to get into, if there's a lesson in here anywhere, in the rough sketch, and I've already said doing the sketches is really the hardest part. Just you're going back and forth between left brain, right brain, thinking analytically, and then just thinking creatively, right brain. I usually say, I'll say it right now, how do you know when you're doing a rough sketch? How do you know when you're in your left brain? No. Sorry. In your right brain, in your creative. How do you know when you're in your creative side, right brain? And the answer is, one answer is, when your hand, pencil, brush, whatever it may be, is moving faster than your brain. Okay, so you're not really thinking about what you're doing. And that's why the number one instruction that I usually state whenever I'm doing rough sketches like this today is just keep the pen or the pencil or the brush, wherever it may be. And then forgive me, and I hope my mom's not listening. I'll say, I say, just keep the damn pencil moving, because it comes with that intensity, which is hard to convey without a little theological phraseology. How about that? That's a theological term. It's not a cuss word at all. Straight out of the Bible, Mom. Anyway. I decided that rather than start with gouache, I decided to go ahead and do get my darkest darks in place before I start doing the gouache stuff. And I think I'll go. Well, let me change brushes. Looking for a good brush here. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, I'm sorry. So the number one lesson is keep your darn hand moving, in case your mom's listening. Keep your hand moving. Just keep it moving. And again, if you do that, you're probably operating out of the right intuitive, creative side of your brain. And I think that's the most important instruction for accomplishing the hard work of rough sketches. I've talked before at some length about, this is the hard part of the job, honestly. Once my rough sketch is done and William has approved of it, the actual execution of the painting will be, if you will, like falling off a log. Oh, wait, anyway. No pun intended. I employ exactly the same mindset and have done so for years and years and years when I'm designing something, say like a corporate logo. Very same. And I think probably typical. I was just actually, ironically, I'm cleaning out some of my old files here in my office. And just earlier today, I was going through a folder that has rough sketches for logos, logo rough sketches from some going back more than 30 years. And I would say for an average logo, I would do 50 sketches, I would guess. Some of them very, very sketchy, mind you, not at all finished, but more along the lines of this kind of thing, except, of course, for a logo. So graphic elements, not pictorial elements. Anyway, that doesn't mean you need to do that, but just to give you some sense of what does if I may call myself a real artist for the moment, what does a real artist do? How many sketches do you suppose a real artist might do in the course of designing a corporate logo? And my answer was on average maybe 50, very often 20 pages or more, and more than one sketch per page. Hey, I know what I'm going to do. Clever boy that I am. I'm going to add some water to this India ink, essentially is what I'm using right now. Let's grab a piece of scrap paper. See if I've got a. Nope. Glad I did that. It's not enough water. I want a gray tone. Again. Oh, and I keep interrupting myself. Let me finish the sentence. Okay. Next to the principle, if you will, of just keep your hand moving. The next principle is and when it comes to rough sketches, is don't abandon your sense of aesthetics. Don't abandon beauty is really the best way to put that. Now, here's what I mean by that. You're an artist. You're a good artist. If you are a good artist, and by that I don't mean I'm not being elitist. What I mean is, as opposed to, say, a modern artist, where if you're a modern artist, your goal is not to create beauty. In fact, very often, most often, your goal is to create something very unbeautiful. Read my book. The one that's 400 pages long and is not yet published. Anyway, so my next instruction or tip for doing sketches, and this is the one I'm going to employ here. Well, let me back up. Let me back up and show you how I employed that. So this was my very first 3 sketches that I did for William. These were all in graphite pencil. You can see that I was, even though this is actual size, I was pursuing beauty. Does that make sense? And of course I colorized them in Photoshop. But this concept of don't abandon true north. Go ahead and work at your rough sketches hard enough, long enough, if you will, so that they're beautiful. Does that mean, do I ever do ugly sketches? Yeah, I do. But it's not my favorite. It's very strange, and I think most of you, I don't think I'm unusual in this regard, but I really am an artist, and by that I mean, and I'm not bragging at all. In fact, almost the opposite of bragging. If I've said this before, if I was given 2 options, one, I lay my head on my pillow at night to go to sleep, and A, I have made a lot of money, or B, I've done extraordinary artwork. Which night do I sleep better? Which is better? And everything in me knows that really the answer ought to be the one that I make more money, the one that I make a lot of money. But doggone it, I am such an artist. Almost to my embarrassment, I admit that I'm almost the former of those 2, or the latter, is paramount. That I'm happier going to bed having created, especially if it's something I'm really happy with. And again, it's like my rational mind goes, well, that's why you're not a millionaire, Dan Nelson. To which I claim, oh darn it, guilty as charged. Anyway, the same thing is true for, I'm advocating here, when you're doing rough sketches. Come on, make them beautiful. Go ahead, stick with it long enough to make it beautiful. I have mentioned many times my good buddy, Mike Rooney. Mike and I, you can Google him, Mike Rooney. He and I, for the last 6 or 7 years in a row, in the fall, we spend a week together painting, typically at an Ocracoke, which is a old rustic fishing village turned tourist area in North Carolina. Ocracoke, spelled with a C, just like it sounds, Ocracoke. They do not serve okra there, as far as I know. They serve a lot of fish. Not much okra in Ocracoke. Oh boy. How can you people put up with this corniness? I don't know, but anyway. Why did I mention? Oh, Mike, because this is one of the things that he does very well. He does typically in the last, at least in the 3 or 4 years, maybe more, he has done a lot of thumbnail sketches before he launches into his real paintings. And and most of them are gouache. So what I'm doing right here kind of reminds me of Mike. And he sells them for, I forget, $50, $75, $100 each, something like that, on Facebook. But what a, I don't do it, but I admire his philosophy, if you will. So what he's doing is he's doing rough sketches for his paintings, which is very valuable. I wish I did more of that. But at the same time, he is creating beautiful little gouache paintings. And I just think that's brilliant. I really do. All right, now I'm going to start gouaching it. That is the technical term, just in case you were wondering. To paint with gouache is called gouaching. Gouache, as you know, is a water-based opaque watercolor paint, and it's an old favorite. Hang on, I'm gonna look, see if I've got a book. Can I put my hands on a book? Lalou. I've got a book. It's a French artist. Forgive me. I'm over here looking at my. It's a real small booklet. Oh, I'm going to be disappointed if I can't find it after wasting all your time. It's not Lalouette. It's something like it. It's very French. Lalouette. That's what L-A-L-L-O-U something. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. I really am wasting your time, but I'm just going to waste it more because it is wet street paintings of Paris. That is painting of wet Paris streets. And hopefully that just that description alone will bring an image to mind. Early 20th century. Doggone it, I'm not finding it. And most of his paintings, or maybe all of them, are done in gouache. So they are a real clinic in how to paint in gouache. Oh, forgive me, I'm so sorry. Not finding it. So. GF, 20 bucks. Bless your heart. Thank you for that super chat gift. I appreciate that immensely. Regina, I'm reading about the your loose paintings for your dad. Oh my goodness. Hello, Yafam. Thank you for speaking up. Appreciate it very much. Michael's done a few good logos. It can take a lot of work. Oh my goodness. You got that right. Hello from Russia. Oh my goodness. Yafom, were you here a few minutes ago when I was talking about a famous Russian artist? Works of Emile Antoine Bayard, Edward Rio. Wow, cool. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you're a fan of ink drawing. So that inspires me. It really does. It makes me anxious to do some. Okay, let's start. As I said, let's start gouaching this thing, and I'm going to paint in a fairly traditional manner. That is to say, start with the furthest away part of the scene here, the sky, which is the sky, of course. Start with the sky and then come forward. Now I am going to do this rather quickly. After me talking about make it beautiful, I said, yeah, okay, but we'll wait, within reason. Yes, I'm not being paid for, probably, for this part of the project. A little quick tip, I always keep a bottle, a tube, that's a tube, not a bottle, of white gouache on hand because it's too much work to revive white paint. It's just too much work. Not worth the effort. So. This is a late afternoon or early evening lighting, sun coming in at maybe a 45-degree angle. My client, William, and I have actually talked about that a little bit in our correspondence. All right, so I'm going to start. I've got a glass of water over here that I'm drinking. And I've almost dipped my brush in it about 4 times already. So let's get that brush, let's get that glass out of the way, shall we? Another artist who does a lot of gouache stuff, we've talked about him here, is James Gurney. Oh, by the way, Yafam, and forgive me, I may be mispronouncing your name terribly. The Russian artist we were talking about, I was talking about, was now I've forgotten it. See, I remembered a little while ago. Shishkin, Ivan Shishkin, early 20th century, I think. He's been named by somebody as the best woodland painter of woods and trees ever in all of history, which is a pretty bold claim, of course, but needless to say, he's pretty good at painting trees and woods. I'm sure some artists keep their gouache palette all clean and neat and organized. I keep my oil painting palette pretty neat, but not my gouache. For some reason, I just mess it all up. I'm not recommending that course of action. I'm just confessing that that's what I do. I am, by the way, let me let some pressure off myself. I'm never claimed to be an expert gouache painter. It's pretty much just intuitive. It's like if you were a kid and you messed around with tempera paints in school, that was essentially the same as gouache. So I think at least the way I feel is everybody's done some gouache-ish paintings in their lifetime. So it's not like I don't have any experience, but I'm certainly not claiming to be all that, as we say here now in America. He ain't all that. It's common epithet, insult, in other words. So I'm not claiming to be all that, and I'm just I know, I need to have a fair amount of ivy climbing up those ruins, don't I? Yes, I do. Let's do some of the light colored Did I say James Gurney? I started to talk about him. James Gurney of Dinotopia fame. So if you've heard of Dinotopia, he's a very good illustrator, and I don't know if he calls himself an artist or an illustrator. I mean, he's an artist, no question about that. But anyway, his career path, I think, more specifically fits into the category of illustrator, and he's one of the best. He's really, really good. And if you could just Google Dinotopia and see his work. He does. I'm subscribed to his YouTube channel, and he goes out and lives in New England and goes out to these charming little New England towns, and will do an entire gouache painting fairly quickly, like an hour and a half or something like that. But they're tiny. Unlike, he's very, very different from the way I paint. He paints these like 4x6 inch paintings, very, very small. Oops. Oh, there's an alarm going off. That's to remind me to turn off the hose that's spraying into the pool. I hope I remember to turn that off after I finish this broadcast. I'm just trying to paint mostly big strokes at this large color areas, as I'm assuming you can detect, you can see. Let's just block in. Anybody here? That's a term I don't usually use, right? Except to say bad things about it. But I think this is a blocking in. Maybe it still qualifies as blobbing in, which is what I recommend over blocking. Instead of blob in your paintings. The connotation there is keep it much looser and messier than a conventional block in. Okay, water back here. I think when I finish the water here, I will have, and you know what, this is driving me crazy. I don't have a flat brush here for some reason. And forgive me for just a moment. I'm gonna step into my nearby phone booth and come up like Superman. False. Step into my attic where I have my big watercolor kit. Let's find a flat brush. There we go. There's one. There's another one. All right, now I can paint. I've been limping along the whole time without telling you guys that I was limping. Oh, that's right. This is water down here. So let me just do a little bit of blue. Really, not so much because water is blue, but just to remind me that that's water. I'm doing this on pretty thin paper. I've done it on a mixed media board or a Bristol board or something, because I'm just doing it on drawing paper, which is the drawing paper is going to be decaying pretty quickly. Under all this rubbing and work, so the failure to plan ahead is coming back to bite me here a little bit. Ooh, this straight line is very awkward, isn't it? This curve right there was very uncomfortable. I just hadn't paid any attention to it until right now. So, all right, I'm going to do kind of typical of the kind of thing I do when I'm doing pen and ink and watercolor. It'll go back and forth between the linear tool, the pen and ink, and the watercolor. So right now I'm, again, partly for the sake of speed. I don't want to spend a ton of time trying to execute this. I'm using whatever is the, you see all of this real quickly there. I've been able to indicate, Roman ruins without spending a lot of time with a brush. Sometimes the linear tool actually does get the job done more quickly when it comes to rendering something. Oh yeah, I've got suggestion of a big branch coming down here, but I like quite a bit. I've essentially lost my 3 pine trees over here, so let's get them scribbled in again real quickly. All right, now I've got way too much light in much of this painting, just not enough shadows. So let's get this half of this bridge in shadow. And I feel at the moment that this is mostly just a rendering, a drawing. In other words, the artist, whoever he or she may have been, seems to have been more focused on drawing the stuff, painting a picture, if you will. More, he or she, evidently, I say with great scorn, was much too fixed on just capturing the stuff, the picture, instead of thinking about composition and so forth. So, and of course, that person was me, and guilty as charged. That's exactly. But I'm going to get there. Hang on. Let's do a little bit of detail first of all. The ruins here, of course, are the focal point. And what I'm trying to indicate here, I don't know if you can tell, is I've got sort of like a series, an aqueduct-ish, or a part of a temple or something. 1, 2, 3, 4 columns with connected along the tops, and then separate from there, so probably closer to us is a taller column, and then over here is a shorter one, as if broken. So I think that's okay at the moment. Now, I came up with the idea a minute ago of doing some ivy-like greenery and hanging down from the. Let's zoom in a little bit more. You guys don't have to see that much, do you? So a little bit of hanging down stuff. Oh, and I could put flowers on this too. That would be, as I like to say, and I say it just to irritate some of you sensitive souls. Let's just Kincaid this up a little bit. I guess the verb would be Kincaidify. Let's just Kincaidify this by putting, purple, red, yellow, orange flowers. Oh boy. I do enjoy tormenting my art friends by saying anything good at all about Thomas Kincaid. I already triggered some of you just by citing Norman Rockwell today, didn't I? All right. Now here I'm experiencing it right now. The challenge to me, the challenge of gouache is that you put it down one color and you think you've nailed it, and then a couple minutes later it's dried and you go, what the heck? That's not the color. That's not the color I wanted there at all, because it lightens considerably in the course of drawing. So there's where if I did a lot of gouache, I think I'd be more accustomed to that. But it just definitely bit me right there. I had that same familiar sensation. It's like, oh man, I thought that was dark enough. No, it's clearly not. Now in a minute, I am, by the way, intentionally focusing on the focal point. The center of interest is really a better word in this case. On purpose, and that's often a good strategy. Not always, but often. Start with the most important thing. And work out from there. All right. And once again, it's too much work trying to revive old white gouache. So I always just have a tube of it nearby, and whenever I need a very light color, like I do right now, I just put a little bit of white gouache. So what I'm hoping to do right now, let me turn it upside down. You'll notice I'm not painting with two hands. All that two-handed stuff out the window when I'm doing a small gouache thumbnail. I'm trying to do the sun, dappled sunlight. In fact, that would be a good odd art history quiz who in history, actually there's a couple different candidates, but who has done the best sun-dappled columns, like Roman ruins type columns? And the answer might be, I already showed you today, Maxfield Parrish. But then my mind went to, wait a minute, what about the school at Athens? Is it Rubens? Who am I thinking of? Who did? Anyway, enough of that. Let's move out from there now a little bit. I'll do some of the pale blue water. Now, this is a rough sketch, of course, so one of the caveats, in the back of my mind, I'm going, okay, anything that I don't love, short of doing another entire sketch, which of course is a possibility, but if I just get close, it's possible that I can make just enough modifications in Photoshop. So there you go, the dreaded Photoshop word, which thinking. That's me. This is me thinking. Let me read some of your sketches here. Yafam, I was saying that a while ago. I was talking about a famous artist from your country, Ivan Shishkin. Cronorus says he's getting a Bob Ross vibe from my voice. That's funny. I think that's a compliment, but it is funny. I was getting a little trippy there, wasn't I? Little friendly green bush. I'll take that as a compliment, even though it's a very funny one. Oh, good. Yafam, do I know about Ivuzovsky? No, I will have to look him up. Oh, Barbara says, could you explain using acrylic gouache? Hello, Chrono Rust. Good to have you back. Hello from Mexico, Areli Barajas. Thank you for joining us. Barbara, there is a product that is a combination of, it's like a cross between acrylics and gouache. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's a wonderful product. Acryl Acryl. There's another word. There's the other half of the word. Forgive me. I actually did a video for that product many years ago. It's a delightful product. It really is. No, Kryl. C-R-Y-L. Kryl. I forget. I'm sorry. But anyway, if you could probably just Google combination of acrylic, and the advantage of it is it goes on like gouache, but then after, I forget how long a time period, it hardens or dries into a nearly impervious surface like acrylics, like an acrylic-like surface. So it's sort of the best of both worlds. There's a long working time where it's not wet per se, but it hasn't cured or set up, and during that period it acts a lot like gouache. So you can rub it off, move it around, and so on and so forth. But after, it seems to me, like a couple of hours, it hardens into a acrylic-like stability. So it's a fun product. I think that this I think that my sky area, not sky, the trees back here in the background need to be darker. Now here's where I wish I was working in watercolor, because it would be so much easier to just darken this area back here without losing. See, what I'm putting down is gouache, so it's quite opaque. And now that I look at it, I'm going, nah, that's too green. It's too intense. So I'm still not happy with the color. Oh yeah, and fading to light over here, that's a good idea. Coming back and darkening it yet again, darkening it with a dirty, neutral, brownish green, so that it's less intense color back there. Yeah, you know what? At the moment, I'm not terribly happy with this sketch at the moment. I think it'll be good enough to show to my client as a rough sketch. Just what I was talking about earlier about going ahead and trying to make it beautiful. I feel like I'm failing in that regard to some degree. It's not as attractive as I would like. So it's what I hoped for, but I don't seem to be achieving my stated goal of making my my sketch beautiful, quote unquote. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Let's do some water. I've got a little waterfall coming down underneath the bridge here. the way back to the sky now. I feel like my ineptitude with gouache is just showing up. Give me just a minute. I'm going to hit this with a noisy hairdryer and then do some pencil, and we'll see. Maybe I just might quit prematurely. I don't like the noise. I have very delicate ears. I think what I don't like, one of the main things I don't like about this whole area back here is it's just too cool. I want it to be more of a warm evening light, and it's not coming off evening enough for me. That would be easy to fix with watercolors. It would be easy to, which I might grab my watercolors and do that. It would be easy to fix in Photoshop, and I might do that as well. I might just scan this drawing as it is, or as it exists right now, and then finish it in Photoshop, which is really the lazy way out, isn't it? I had talked to with my client about the possibility of putting possibly a deer, a la Albert Bierstadt, and many others, of course. Put a deer back there by the water, maybe. If so, that would go right here, wouldn't it? Maybe. And we'd also talked about putting an eagle in, maybe there. Well, I wonder, hang on, I'm going to go get my watercolor tray. And see if I can do here's my watercolor tray. I want some real warm yellow-orange stuff over there. I do know, I've done this before. When you're desperate, you try anything, you know. I have taken a gouache painting like this and spray it with a workable fixative, and then do gouache or a watercolor on top of the gouache, or anything on top of the gouache. I just don't want to go to that. I don't want to go to that length. I don't want to go to that extreme today, so I'm looking for a large watercolor brush, and I'm going to mix up, and I don't know how well this will work, so let's all find out together, shall we? Mixing up yellow and orange for a nice warm yellow. And I'll only get, I think, I'll only get one pass at least, and then have to wait for it to dry. Yeah, I can't brush back and forth, of course. So here's what I'm mixing up. All right, let's just see what happens. Not very good. But I'm going to do it anyway. See, if I hit it twice, it'll just evaporate, if you will. It'll just re-wet like that up there. Well, it's warmer. We only lost a little detail. This is not prescribed gouache technique, by the way. Same thing here. I should have put some soap in this mixture, but that would require me going back out to my attic once again, so I'll resist doing that. But since I'm doing this everywhere, let's just go ahead and do it. And then I'm going to dry it. Y'all can stick around and see what it looks like after it dries. Woo! A lot of water. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at all your chats over here. All right, it's actually better, isn't it? Yeah, somebody said it was better in black and white. What? How dare you? No, I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding. I agree with you. In fact, I'm so much so I'm going to go back to, this is not the pure India ink, it's watered down. But I'm going to go back to some of the more stark contrast that I had at the very beginning. I don't know how much of this to inflict on you guys. I mean, this is a little bit painful, isn't it, watching me flail around. Normally, this is the kind of flailing I would rather do in private, and without people around the world watching. But there you go. It's one of the charms, if I may say, of my broadcast, is we show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. It is getting a little better. Honestly, the warm that I did, it did mess up. Of course, it re-wetted some of the gouache, of course. But I think the result was actually good. It sort of messed it up in a good kind of way. I know, this right over here above the bridge, that's supposed to be dark, not light. There we go. That's better. Again, sneaking up on this, on play of light. This whole bank of trees back here is too dark. Remember, it was too light, and then I made it darker. Now I've decided it's too dark. So again, how long you all want to watch me flail around? When I get embarrassed or tired of flailing in front of you, I will end the broadcast. I promise. But I have a thick skin. I'm not embarrassed yet. So somebody's saying, well, you ought to be embarrassed. Very possibly. It's a gift I have for not knowing when I should be embarrassed. I watch lots of artists on YouTube who ought to be embarrassed. They have the same gift as I. You should be embarrassed. And they're just happily painting along in front of everybody. I will not name names. Oh, I know, I thought a minute ago, I'm going to pull out some serious white. This is a whiteout pen. And this will, when this dries, it will be impervious. That is, it won't be re-wettable. It's dry. And it's kind of a blunt tool, literally blunt. That's part of the reason it really does often add a little charm. I use it quite a bit in my watercolor sketch paintings. I can paint on top of it, but I may need that bar of soap I was talking about a little while ago. I don't know if you know that trick or not. I showed it just the other day. I used it in one of my broadcasts. Just a little bar of hotel soap wrapped up in a Kleenex or something. I keep that in my watercolor kit. Very handy whenever you have viscosity issues. You have viscosity issues sometimes with acrylics. If you're an acrylic painter, you get a canvas out of the package and you do a big swipe of acrylic paint across it and it beads up. Have you ever had that happen? Boy, that's irritating and scary if you've never seen it happen before. Well, you can add just a few drops of liquid soap. Just a few, just one drop, as a matter of fact. You can do that. Or a swipe on a cake of soap, either one, just enough to change the viscosity. And then it won't bead up anymore. Well, this is going to be one of those sketches where I am glad to have Photoshop at my disposal. I can cover a multitude of sins with, with Photoshop. anything I don't like. All right, I might put us all out of our misery by finishing here with one last time. I was debating changing tools, but now I'll stick with it. So finishing with the my old standby, made by Jerry's Artorama, jumbo jet black pencils. Graphite would not work well in this context because, of course, graphite is a shiny gray texture, and the shininess and the grayness of it would not, I don't think would go well in this little sketch. So this pencil at least leaves a fairly black mark. And let's put the eagle back in here. I'll actually look up what an eagle looks like, of course, before I do that in a real painting. Let me do some blue on this water down here. I don't like how much white is down there. Now it's too much blue. I'm not very crazy about the angle of that water. I need to work on that a little bit. And I feel like I've drawn the texture, the twisting texture on this tree about 4 times by now, and it's still not good enough, but it's good enough. It's still not good enough, but it's good enough. Good enough for a sketch. And I think I'm going to do exactly what I just said. I think I'm going to scan this into Photoshop and mess with it a fair amount before I send it to my client. Hang on, I'm gonna make these tree trunks brown. By the way, your default color for tree trunks I teach should actually be gray, not brown. But there I am doing it brown. Knowing better, I do it brown anyway. If your default in your mind, if you think of tree trunks as being gray, you'll be closer to the reality and will require less tweaking than if you do them in the typical grade school tree color, which is brown. So I'm looking and thinking here. I'm not sure about it, honestly, to tell you the truth. I'm going to scan it, and but I'm going to call it a day as far as a broadcast. The number 51 was in the tree. I missed it. I hope I covered it up by now. I could use white gouache. I could I could paint over the whole thing and start over, couldn't I? Yeah, anything's the limit. Oh, funny, you guys. All right, thank you. Thank you for your fun chats and your company. Oh, wait. I know one thing. See, he doesn't quit. He just thinks he's quitting. This is a pretty typical thing. Let's do some green leaves hanging down in front of the dark up here. I'm kidding. That is not the answer by any means, but it might help a little bit. A few weeds down here. I'm glad I did that, though. That did help a little bit. Plain old-fashioned speckledy brush there, right? Just grab a big old brush and let it make speckles for you. That's a little Thomas Kincaid too. Speaking of our old friend Thomas, there we go. All right, thanks guys for your company. You're crazy. Love you. Thanks for watching me. Appreciate it. And thank you to GF for the $20 tip. I appreciate that immensely. Thank you. Here, let me move because I know some of you joined us late. You don't even know who this is, who's talking. You don't even know who you're watching. That would be me. My name's Dan still. And I do thank you for your company. Appreciate it. Hopefully I'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.